Hello, this is Everton fans 77, and today I'll be basically talking about Chelsea FC and basically who could be the manager for the 2013 to 2014 season and the future of Benitez. And yeah, that's basically it. Five managers I think and I would like, or not necessarily I would like, but five managers I think are good enough to manage Chelsea FC, and yeah, basically who can bring success back to the club of Chelsea FC. Other than cup success, like a solid Premier League title, consistency in the Premier League, which is something they've really struggled for over the last few or not necessarily over the last few seasons, but particularly the 11-12 and the 12-13 seasons, they just haven't had the same consistency which Chelsea FC were renowned for after Roman Abramovich bought them out. So, as I was saying before about Rafael Benitez, it is not looking like he will get a contract extension. It was never expected to happen. Obviously, he's very unpopular amongst Chelsea fans because of the comments he made about the fans of Chelsea and the plastic flags and all that back sometime when he was at Liverpool. So the Chelsea fans hadn't really let that go when Benitez arrived. But to be fair to them, Benitez hasn't done anything to win the Chelsea fans over. 3 wins out of the last 10 matches is really not good enough for particularly a club like Chelsea. Obviously, all the blame shouldn't go on Rafael Benitez. I hate it when people put the whole blame on the manager. But it's just not quite fair. He's not the only one to blame in the downfall of Chelsea FC over the last few months. But obviously, he has some role to play in that. And yeah, he just hasn't got his tactics right. And yeah, so Benitez is not looking like he'll get the contract extension, but it wouldn't make any sense to prematurely end his contract before the season finishes because the manager's compensation fee, Roman Abramovich would have to pay Rafael Benitez the compensation fee, and B, it would just disrupt the balance of the team having a new manager. But Benitez, problem is, knowing that Benitez will be leaving at the end of the season, the players aren't really going to give him his full respect because they know he's leaving. It's not a long-term thing, and he just doesn't have respect and control over the team, which is something you need as a manager, something Di Matteo had and Villas-Boas didn't. But yeah, I will move on to the first of my 5 managers who I think are good enough to manage Chelsea. Obviously, this one is will be quite controversial because everyone has their different opinions and managing preferences, particularly among Chelsea fans because it's their club. And obviously, if I'm just suggesting managers willy-nilly, I can see how they wouldn't be happy with that. So I'm trying to keep it as neutral as possible with managers I think are good enough, not necessarily managers that will take the job or that are likely to take the job, but managers that I think are good enough to manage Chelsea FC and bring success and consistency back to the club. So the first one out of the 5 is David Moyes. And obviously as an Everton fan, I would hate to see this move happen. Sorry about that, I just had a bit of an interruption there. But yeah, as I was saying before, I'd hate to see David Moyes go to Chelsea because he's been so good for us over the last few years. Yeah, he's just been a fantastic manager, coming up to 11 years, I'm pretty sure, at the club. He didn't start off in the best of fashion with a 17th place finish, but since then, wow, what a manager he has been. Particularly the comeback after that season. If you finished 17th, it was great resilience from Moyes and Everton to resurge to 4th place in the Premier League. What a comeback that was. And also, over the last few seasons, particularly some consistent finishes at the top end of the table, not quite the top end, but pushing for Europa League and Champions League places in 7th and 8th places over the last few seasons. So he's been fantastic for us. And also one thing he has a great eye. I can't remember the last bad signing David Moyes. Well, I can remember, not like some average signings, not necessarily bad signings, but he's made some great signings over the last few seasons. Like Darren Gibson, Kevin Morales was looking really good, but unfortunately injury has plagued him a bit. Yeah, but Darren Gibson has been great. Nikita Jelavic had an instant impact. Marouane Fellaini. It's just these great transfers David Moyes has brought. Jermaine Beckford as well. Obviously a forgotten one when he came from Leeds United. I was a bit puzzled as to why Moyes would go for a striker who played Empower League 1, I'm pretty sure it was, but he was fantastic for us that season. Unfortunately, he's at Leicester now, but a great signing again from David Moyes. Also, another thing, which is what Chelsea, I think the management requires most of all, the balance between youth and experience. Sir Alex Ferguson is the king of finding this balance. He has I'm just going to say this, I hate Manchester United. I'm not really a huge fan of Ferguson, like the comments he makes and stuff, but he's a great manager. He has the perfect balance between experience and youth. It's something Chelsea really need. I thought Di Matteo had it, but obviously being second or third in the Barclays Premier League wasn't enough to win a Roman Abramovich over, even though he won the FA Cup and Champions League. But I won't get into all that because I'm pretty sure you just ask any Chelsea fan what their opinions are of Di Matteo being fired, and you'll hear it for about 10 minutes. But yeah, moving on, David Moyes, he has that balance, and he knows when to drop players. That's another thing. And Nikita Jelavic has recently been dropped for Victor Anichebe, and that's proving to be pretty good, as Anichebe's in some good form, playing well, and it's a very hard skill to know when to drop a player, because Fernando Torres as well being out of form. Benitez, it was a tough thing, but he did well to drop him for Demba Ba. Obviously, it would have been hard for Benitez because of the glory days back at back at Liverpool, when Torres was in some great form there. But with the out of form Fernando Torres, whether he'll leave at the end of the season or not, it's going to be hard to know when to drop him and when to recall him. And David Moyes knows when to do that as well. So that's a very underrated skill as a manager. It doesn't really it doesn't really get much of a mention in the press, but David Moyes has that skill. But as I said before, I would just hate to see David Moyes go to Chelsea, being an Everton fan. He's been so great for us. I can't imagine another manager, well, I can, but being in your 11 years at the one club, particularly as a manager in the most cutthroat part of football, being a manager, he's done great things for us, and I'm just so happy with him. He's been great for us. I'd hate to see him go to Chelsea as well, because if he just has one bad season, that's his career. Not that's his career, but he gets fired and he has to basically start over. So I really hope he doesn't go to Chelsea, but he would. If he does, I do believe he'd do a great job over at Chelsea. Moving on to the next one, and this is one that's in the press a lot. Jose Mourinho, obviously the manager of Real Madrid, having a pretty poor season so far as the Liga BBVA goes, but he is such a good manager, a quality manager. He used to manage Chelsea, obviously, so he'd still have the respect of the players, particularly the more senior players like Frank Lampard, Petr Cech, and John Terry, and a few others at the club like Paulo Ferreira, who's like obviously not getting much first-time action, but he's still one of the senior players at the team. So he'd have the respect, and obviously he has a big reputation at Chelsea. The only problem is it was reported that he did leave on mutual consent after having basically an argument and a few disagreements with Roman Abramovich. And I think Abramovich would let that go to have Mourinho back at the club, because he was a great manager, but as I said before, mutual consent was apparently why they left. And Jose Mourinho, if he does leave Real Madrid, I'd see him going to a place like Manchester City rather than Chelsea. But for Chelsea's sake, I hope they do get Mourinho back. He's a great manager, and I think one thing about Mourinho I will mention as well is he's not afraid to splash the cash, which is something Abramovich likes at Chelsea. It's not something I'm a huge fan of. I like managers to get a huge scout. If I was a manager, I would love a huge scout report on the player, and I would like to watch a few of his games as well, because you really want to know what you're buying into. Mourinho, I'm not going to make any judgments about it, but with the signings of Ronaldo and Kaká, was it Mourinho who signed them? I honestly can't remember if it was Mourinho who signed Ronaldo. I'm pretty sure it was Mourinho. I might be wrong on that, actually. I can't remember. I'm very sorry if I made a mistake there. Delving into judgments too early, something I actually do quite a bit as well. But yeah, Jose Mourinho going to Chelsea, it would be a great move to happen. Now the third one is very, very, very unlikely, probably because this manager is retiring at the end of the season, and it is Gus Hiddink. Now, he is a managerial legend in Australia. The 2006 World Cup, he led us to the second round, but that is not why that's not the main reason why I'd like to see him go to Chelsea. Well, he is retiring at the end of the season, but he's only 66, or only 66. Sir Alex Ferguson is 71, I think, so he still can play. He can still manage for a few seasons to lead them back on the right track, as Jose Mourinho did. One thing that Gus Hiddink would have over every other manager, including Mourinho, is he has the respect from the players. Now, Mourinho obviously has the respect of the players, but he was there quite a fair bit before Gus Hiddink. So a lot of players have left in that time between Gus Hiddink and Jose Mourinho. So Gus Hiddink would have respect over more of the squad than Jose Mourinho did, purely because of the time difference, as Gus Hiddink managed them in a much later time period than Jose Mourinho did. But I'll stop comparing the two. But he was only an interim manager there. Only lost one game, I'm pretty sure, because they only did go out in the Champions League on goal difference, which was very disappointing, very controversial as well. But yeah, Gus Hiddink, fantastic manager. Obviously, players like John Terry and Petr Cech were really happy to have him back. Like, they really wanted him to come back for another season. But obviously, he made Russia his full commitment. He put like everything he had into Russia, because he was managing Russia and Chelsea at the same time, and he didn't want to take any focus off Russia. So that's why he didn't sign a new deal at Chelsea when Carlo Ancelotti was the new manager. But yeah, Gus Hiddink, great manager. He is retiring at the end of the season, so it's very unlikely. But I would really love to see him go to Chelsea. I think he'd go on to do great things. Currently at NZ, some say he's more of an international specialist. Maybe that's debatable, but his success at Chelsea during his short period there, I'm not sure if it was 9 months. Did I say 9 months before? I might have. 6 months, I think it was. But yeah, he was replacing Scolari, and he had great success at Chelsea in the 08-09 season, I'm pretty sure it was. And I'll move on to the next manager. It is, now, these next two I don't know too much about, but they've had great success. Not so much great success, but they've been quite successful, I will say, with their respective clubs. The first one is Remy Gard. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, because I've never actually heard his name pronounced in real life. He is the manager of Lyon. Lyon doing quite well in League One at the moment, in second place behind PSG, but it would always be a tough ask to really come up against PSG with all the money and the new signings they have. But yeah, I think he's capable of doing the job. Lyon, a very fantastic team, a well-run club. I can't go into too much detail because I honestly don't know too much about him. I'm only naming these two examples on their success at the club. But yeah, I think it would be great to see him at the club. Well, I'm going to say great because I haven't seen too much of him, but I think, based on his success at Lyon, he's capable of doing the Chelsea job. It seems like a bit of a naive statement, I do understand, but he's had success, and you can't ignore that as a manager. Not as a manager, as a chief executive. Yeah, I'll move on to the next one, which is, I still don't know how to pronounce his name either. I think it's Walter Mazzarri, manager of Napoli, and he's been very successful in his last few seasons since he signed. He's made some great signings as well, including Edison Cavani, and yeah, he's done well in the Champions League. He did well to make it out of a group that had Manchester City, Bayern Munich, Napoli, which was the club he was managing, and Villarreal. He did great to make it out of that group and then come up against Chelsea. They had a 3-1 advantage in the first leg and then blew it in the next game, losing in extra time losing in extra time with a 4-1 result. So very unfortunate for him to bow out in the round of 16 to the eventual winners, which were Chelsea. And the 3-1 wins proves that he can manage, or he can play against a club with the caliber of Chelsea. And that's basically what you need to be able to do against the Premier League teams. As particularly individually, Chelsea probably have a stronger squad than Napoli as well. And Roman Abramovich will obviously give him money to sign players. And I think he could do a pretty good job there. I don't know too much about him, but I know a bit more about him than the Lyon manager. But I'm sorry about these last two ones. I honestly don't know too much about them because I don't watch a heap. Like, I watch a bit, but I don't watch too much leagues outside the Premier League. I watch a bit of Liga BBVA, I just don't have time to watch all the leagues. And Premier League is the Premier League is the league that grips me the most. I think it's the best league in the world. Now I could start a debate there, but Mazzari, Yard, Gus Hiddink, Jose Mourinho, and David Moyes are 5 managers I think could do the job at Chelsea FC. And yeah, who do you think could do the job at Chelsea FC? Leave that in the comment section below. I'd love to see all your opinions on that, because there's lots of different managers out there and lots of ones who many could think could do the very cutthroat job at Chelsea. You're walking on thin ice at Chelsea FC as a manager. And yeah, this has been Everton Fan 77 with a Chelsea managers video, I guess. See ya.